Greetings and blessings, everyone. Welcome to the Seeking Spirit podcast. We have altered the name of the podcast because, as one of the things that we realize is that spirit is always refining, and there is nothing that we allow to get stagnant. Joining me again today is Chris Marshall. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm very well, thank you, James. Pleasure to be here.
Interesting session we had this morning.
Definitely.
We have a group that meets twice weekly where Phineas comes in and teaches and shares information and wisdom and stuff. And it was very interesting. I seem to recall that there was a point where he spoke about what was it? Where you aren't motivated to do something.
Mm, mm.
What's the
Ye-
word?
Yes, where you are stuck or were you unsure as to do
No,
something?
no. There's a
Procrastinate.
procrastination.
Mm.
I think that was directed at one particular individual.
I think that applies to all of us at times.
Yeah, but one in particular.
Mm.
So today we're going to be speaking a little bit more in depth about heart. Heart is the key to everything. It is the linchpin to our existence, but also to our pathway that we walk upon this planet. Now, what was the first thing that happened in your life where you were like, I've got to go with what my heart says?
Oh, goodness, that would have been without actually really understanding why. I suppose it would have been many years ago when I would have been in my early 20s. And I decided that I wanted something different in my life and I changed careers completely. And this, in the long run, the reason why this occurred and why it was brought to my attention to do it was so that I would meet my husband.
Very interesting because for me, there were many times when I had that, do I follow my heart or do I not? But the one thing that solidified things for me was the fact that I had met Janice, who was to become my wife, my twin flame. And growing up in America, there is this mentality with many Americans, and I'm not saying that it's correct, but it's a mentality where it's like America is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Mm,
And it's like when you've grown up in an environment and you know it inside and out, and then you get faced with a situation of, in order for you to be with this person that makes your heart sing, that you have more love than anything in this world, who loves you unlike anything you've ever experienced in this world, you've got to get on an airplane and move to a different country.
mm,
Now, of course, my mentality, because I moved from America to Cairns, Australia, and my thinking was it would be very similar to America. They spoke English, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized after getting there, it took me a year to
mm.
acclimate to being there. And now I get the pleasure of blowing Americans' minds by acting more Aussie, even though I don't have the Australian accent. To give an example of that, one of the things that I struggled with when I moved to Australia was I didn't was not aware that if they like you, they take the piss out of you. Now, in America, generally speaking, not everyone, but generally speaking, people take that very personally.
Mm.
And initially, I did as well. But then, when my wife and I came back on a Trans Pacific cruise from Seattle to Sydney, I, of course, am a stroke survivor, so I have a walking stick, and I didn't want to exit the ship in a wheelchair. So I walked off, and we got down because, of course, coming from America to Australia, you have to go through immigration. So I had gotten off, and when we got into the building, there was a massive snake line of Americans, mainly Americans, waiting to go through immigration. And one of the guys who works there made an offhand comment, and I took the piss out of him. And I could see this look of shock on the American faces. But he said, I'm not going to put up with that. Get your ass over here. And he sent me down the 88 line. So I got an express line to immigration and got out of there really quickly. But it's
Mm.
like you've got to be willing to follow the heart, because what I notice is the most extraordinary things that happen in our life is when we follow our heart, when we have trust and faith. Now, because of the way we're raised, because of the experiences we have, and I've noticed, especially with people of our age
Mm.
who are star seeds, many of us have gone through abuse, have gone through neglect, all of these things that we've experienced in our life, heartache, all these different things. And then what happens is we get to a point where it's like we get brought to a moment, and it's like, are you going to follow your heart? And our first notion is, if I do that, it's gonna be bad for me.
Mm.
I actually spoke to someone once who honestly told me the only time that their life turns to crap is when they follow their heart.
Mm.
Only one person out of all my experiences have ever said that.
Perhaps it's because they have been, in order to do that, they would actually have to face something that they must address, and
Correct.
that scares them.
Correct.
Mm.
You see, in order to be able to trust our heart, we have to get rid of the crap that we're carrying around with us.
Mm.
I think, and some people say that's your baggage. But with me, it was a little bit different because, and I mentioned this the other day to somebody, with me, it was a little bit different for the simple reason, on this side over here, on the physical side, everything about my life was lived in fear, trepidation, couldn't trust myself, couldn't trust anything. On the other side, the side over here, the spiritual side, I had self confidence. I knew what was going on. I knew how to handle myself. It was like two entirely different people. But in order to survive, in order to do what I needed to do, I had to merge the two.
Mm.
And in order to merge the two, you got to heal that which is broken.
Yeah.
So it's like it always comes back to, in the Bible, there's a passage in the New Testament that I always remembered, having grown up in church and being a Christian and everything. There were just certain Bible passages, and I couldn't even tell you where in the Bible they are, although I know this one is in the New Testament, but they just stick with me like glue. And this one was, and Jesus said, the greatest thing is love.
Mm.
And I thought about that, and I'm like, okay, The greatest thing is love. That resonates. But what does that mean?
Mm.
And then I thought about it and I thought, okay, so the question that you have to ask next is, have you ever been in love? Well, you have, I have.
Mm.
So the question is, if you've been in love, is it a mental thing or
Mm.
is it a heart thing?
No, definitely a heart thing.
How many times do people, after they have fallen in love with someone, do stupid stuff? I mean, constantly.
Mm.
And it's like it's not even a criticism. It simply is, you
Mm.
know?
But that's the joy that they feel.
Correct.
Mm.
It's like I saw someone posted on X, which used to be Twitter, about a week ago. And he asked the question, is it possible to find true love? I don't always comment on posts and stuff, but I said, yes, it is.
Mm.
He came back with, how can you say that? And I said, well, I've been married for 23 years and it just keeps getting better every year.
But that's because you not only have love for each other that's deeply felt within the heart, you have trust and you have faith in each other.
True, but it's like we're twin flames.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and there's a part of me that understands it, many starseed are fixated on finding their twin flame.
Mm.
They think, oh, if I find my twin flame, it's the greatest relationship there can be. It would be everything. But what they don't realize or understand is, in a way, that's true. It is the greatest relationship you can have. But the truth of the matter is, coming together with the twin flame is not for the faint of heart. It's one of the most challenging things anyone can ever do. I remember speaking to a couple of people. Oh God, we're talking over 15 years ago. They lived in Colorado in the US and they were twin flames. They came together. They lasted 6 months
Mm.
and they had complete unconditional love for each other, but they couldn't handle being together
Yeah.
in that way. But the truth of the matter is, not every starseed has a twin flame. Having said that, though many of them do have twin flames, but what ends up happening is to come together in physical, there has to be a reason,
And a higher purpose.
a much higher purpose.
Mm.
Having said that, if your twin flame isn't in physical, they will be your main guide.
Mm.
So all of a sudden we find ourselves back into the same situation. What's the most important thing? The most important thing is heart.
Mm.
Because you see, like it says, and Jesus said, the greatest thing is love. But as we discern, as we've discussed, love is a heart thing, not a mind thing.
Mm.
So it's like the heart then becomes something more. What it becomes is it's the holder of what's
Mm.
called the divine spark. The divine spark is your connection to source, to all that is.
Mhm.
And so it's like it's the greatest reservoir that we have. for our life, for our pathway, for our existence.
And the heart's also the portal to everything.
Correct.
That's that's the center from which everything springs for us. So it's not only the portal in which we can do healings, it's our connection to absolutely everything and everybody, not only at the starseed, but also home, source, family on the other side. It's the family that we have created or have found that we resonate with on this side.
Yes, that doesn't necessarily mean blood relatives.
No, no, absolutely not.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're family to me.
Absolutely, absolutely, and vice versa. And that's why, as a star seed, we have a role here, yes, but we also are searching for others like ourselves in terms of that spiritual heart, and that is shared. And so we are looking for that. And when we meet those people, then we are actually feel like we have people in our corner, that we have found a place that we can call home here.
Correct. Correct. So all of a sudden, one begins to realize the great importance that the heart carries.
Mm,
Because you see, if you cannot connect to your heart, you will find yourself to be lost.
yeah, yeah.
You will not find what you're looking for.
No, and you risk being influenced too much by other people.
Oh, by all means.
Mm,
And the other thing is that one thing people don't realize is in order for the mind to truly work properly, it has to work in conjunction with the heart center.
mm, mm,
So it's like in order to do that is you get a thought. So the very first thing that you should do is, does that resonate?
yeah,
And the more you focus on what resonates, the easier it becomes to discern what is real for you and what is true for you and what is not.
mm,
But the other thing that where people get tripped up on is they discover something to be true, totally resonates within them. And then they get this assumption going, well, that's true for me, totally resonates for me, so it must be true for everybody.
yeah.
And
Mm,
it doesn't work that way.
nope.
You see, it's like I think this was said this morning, I'm not sure. We are individual aspects of a greater whole.
Hmm.
So the thing to remember here is as individual aspects, we don't all come from the same place.
No.
We're not here to do the same things. We're here, if you look at the larger picture, for the same reason, which is to assist in the evolution and eventual ascension of the humanity of Earth.
Mm,
But we are individual aspects. And the thing that the phrase or the scene that comes up into my head is from the movie Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
mm,
Now, Morgan Freeman is in that movie. He plays a Moor.
yes.
And Robin Hood, they were all these people were in the camp having a party. And Morgan Freeman's character was sitting outside of his tent sharpening his sword, because that's what he does. And this little girl walks up and looks at him and says, did God paint you? And of course, his reaction is he laughs and he says, yes, God painted me. She asked why. And he said, because Allah, or God, of course, loves infinite variety.
Mm,
Now you see, we have star seeds from planets and star systems from around this universe. I know that most people focus on Lyra, Sirius, Pleiades, things like that, but they actually come from all over this universe.
mm,
And they all bring a unique flavor and a unique gifts to this project. So we are all here for the same overall mission, but we are here for unique reasons that are unique to ourselves.
mm,
In order to traverse the planet, the challenges, there is only one way to do that, and it's through the heart.
mhm.
Would you agree?
Absolutely, I would. Because regardless of where other starseed come from, that connection you have with them through heart is that purpose.
But it's like when a starseed can sit back and realize and acknowledge that it's not important for everyone to have the same belief they have, when they realize that they're only responsible for their own discernment, for their own pathway, that makes a massive difference in anybody's incarnation.
Yes, and not responsible for anybody else's reaction or
Very,
interpretation of what you believe.
very true.
That's on them, not on us.
The downside or the problem that I see, and I realize that this stems from religion, there is this seems to be this need amongst some starseed. You see this a lot with religion. It's almost like this is what I believe. I know for myself this is my truth, but I need you to believe in it as well to validate what I believe.
Mm,
And the
mm.
thing is the only validation you need is your own discernment, which is done through your heart.
But those who do that, who believe that others must believe the same as them, are collectors. They want to collect followers, and
I know.
that's not what it's about. It's about your journey, your path, your beliefs, your truth. And as long as that holds true for you, does it really matter if anybody else believes and follows you?
Well, it doesn't bother me in the
Mm,
least.
mm,
But it's like, as an example, I love talking. I know this is going to sound weird, but I love talking to Jehovah Witnesses and Mormons. Because it's like so many people slam the door in their faces and stuff like that, and they're just following their own truth.
mm,
There was a couple of Mormon missionaries, brilliant, beautiful young men who came to the house, and I invited them in, have a seat. We had a long chat, chatted with them on several occasions. They gave me a copy of the Book of Mormon,
mm,
and I read quite a bit of it until I found what I was looking for. But it's like I remember one time they were at the house, sitting on the couch, and we're talking, and one of them asks me, "Do you believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And they said, "I don't understand then why you wouldn't become a Mormon." I said very clearly, I said, "Because I don't believe in organized religion. You look at Christianity, according to biblical theologians and historians, there's over 3,000 different Christian denominations. So I said, I tell you what, without using the Bible, without using the Book of Mormon, If you can convince me and prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that the way you believe is the absolute truth, I will convert. They never asked again. Because it's like I don't bash anyone for their belief.
Mm.
Most, and I would say most, not everyone, but most people who follow a religion are native humans, humanity of Earth. But
Mm.
now, in 2019 for Easter, we were in Mena, Arkansas, seeing my stepmother and my stepsister. My stepsister is a Christian, so we went to church with her, and I met her minister. I listened to his sermon, the whole 9 yards. Guess what? Her minister is a starseed,
Mm.
leading a different way.
Mm.
So you see, it's like starseeds can show up anywhere, and it's just dependent upon why they're here.
Yeah.
But in order to walk the path, and when I say the path, I'm not saying my path or any particular path. What I mean is your path.
Mm.
The only person that can make that determination is you. And once you make that determination, once you are very clear on your discernment, you won't walk it alone.
Mm.
You will find those who will be there to walk with you. But you have to be willing to have enough trust and faith in yourself and in your discernment to walk the path of the heart.
Mm.
That's what it is. It's walking the path of the heart.
Yep. It is having the bravery to take that first step and the
Oh,
courage to continue.
takes great courage. I
Yes.
mean, for me to get on that plane and fly to Cairns, going to a country I've never been to before, to be with someone who had an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old, and to be thrown at me almost immediately with no recourse. I mean, I had nothing to go back to. I had sold my car. I had nothing to go back to at all.
Yeah.
This was all or nothing. And it's like to have that trust and faith takes courage.
Mm-hmm.
It takes heart. It takes a willingness to have that ultimate trust and faith, spirit.
Yes. And in yourself that you'll follow through.
Correct. And which I did.
Mm.
Almost missed out, but I followed through. And when I say I almost missed out, I'm serious.
Mm.
Janice was literally within 2 days of pulling the plug and saying, "Nope, it's not gonna happen. Get on with your life. I'm getting on with mine." And
Mm.
I woke up one morning and I was like, "No, I've got to go." So I called her, and she was at lunch going from one office to the other in Cairns, and I said, "I'm coming," and she freaked out, but it worked out perfectly.
And sometimes those moments when your heart actually speaks to you and it's your guides or whoever it is who is speaking to you through your heart, it's not always a relationship type thing. Sometimes it can be about your job. Because I can
Yes,
recall one night I was sitting on my decking at home. This was a few years ago now, and it was New Year's Eve. I was sitting there looking at the stars, just looking up at the sky and thinking, oh, I've got another year of doing this sort of job. And then I heard, why are you doing that? And I thought, that made me stop and think, why am I doing that? And I could feel in my heart, you don't have to if you don't want to any longer. And it was right there and then. I made the decision, I don't have to put up with this any longer. And I didn't. And I changed jobs. But up until that time, I knew I wasn't happy and I knew it wasn't right for me. But it got to that point where I actually had to make a decision. I had to trust it and have faith that that was the decision that was right for me and follow through with it.
Correct.
So yeah,
It
it's about listening. About listening.
it's always about listening.
Mm.
It's about listening, it's about discerning, it's about being willing to make the right choice no matter what.
And being open enough for those messages to come through that where they can actually be heard by you or felt by you.
Correct. Did you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
I just think that the heart is the center of everything for us. As a star seed, it is the most important. Yes, it is yoked to the mind as well, but it's the heart that's almost like the pilot for you in your life. It's the portal through which you receive so much.
Agreed.
And as long as you have trust and faith in yourself to receive those messages and then to act on them accordingly, then you will be walking the path that is right for you.
Totally. Totally. All right. Well, I think that about covers it for this episode.
Mhm.
We are going to continue to refine things, and this will continue. Now, I'm not sure what's going on with young James at the moment. Um, partially procrastination. Um, but Chris will be joining me again for future podcasts, and Janice will be joining me again, minus the interview. That was done for a different project that we're doing. But take a moment to connect with your own heart. Take a moment to connect within and find your own truth. You don't have to follow other people for any reason. Just follow your own heart and trajectory and your own truth. And from that, we'll say goodnight and much love and many blessings to all of you. And thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.